I'm going to start with a quote.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel pressure. If you don't feel nervous, that means you don't care about how you play. I care about how I perform. I've always said the day I'm not nervous playing is the day I quit.
But I believe the great is still yet to come. I won't stop fighting, man, until I'm done.
Good morning. Welcome to the 9th episode of The Breakfast Ball. Today's episode is Pressure is a Privilege. I am your host, Bob Cardia. To your far right is the dashing Richie Stoltz. And our new addition, DMG, David Michael Gibson. So we're trying to give David like a funky new fly name. So it's DMG. Let's go.
Coach is big on nicknames.
I am big on nicknames. I am, yeah. We were talking about that the other day. Like, I fill out my paperwork for lessons, and sometimes I just make up names for people. Like, this one student we have named Francis. I call him Frantastic. So I start filling out my forms Frantastic, and Mary, who was our assistant, she's like, who the hell's Frantastic? I'm like, oh, yeah, I should probably put the real name on there at some point. Anyway, so today is Pressure is a Privilege, and the old adage is, right, it takes pressure to turn coal into a diamond, which is true, okay, but how to focus pressure correctly is a topic that we're talking about today. So I reflected upon a story that a student, or actually a Rutgers player, had told me once, and now that we've talked about it, it might have actually been DMG. Like, it's interesting because, you know, when you talk about pressure and how it's applied correctly. So I believe it was you, David, and because he came in this morning talking about that, which was like blew my mind. Was David's like, well, I like to procrastinate, so at the last minute I perform well under pressure. So when I get to that point, I function at my highest level. And I'm like, that might not be the way that it was meant to be done, right? Like, because then Chuck Noll, who was the coach of the Steelers when they won all the Super Bowls, said that he felt pressure when he wasn't prepared correctly. And I think the truth lies somewhere between. Like, Richie was saying, by the way, the founder of the feast today, the topic came from something that Richie said to me this past week. So why don't you tell the story about the amateur?
Yeah, so an amateur golfer made it on tour. I don't know how he made it on tour. I'm assuming maybe Monday qualifying.
Maybe, or
yeah.
Like that, yeah.
He actually turned pro, by the way. He turned pro after the event, so I guess
man. Let's go.
Yeah, I think he's done it in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
But he ended up winning the tournament, and I think it was 15 minutes after the tournament was over, he was going through all of his interviews and stuff like that, and one of the quotes that came up on the screen was, "Pressure is a privilege." And the second I saw that, I pulled out my phone and texted that right to you, because I was like, ooh, that would be a good...
Because you know I love it.
Yeah.
Because that's what I believe, yeah. See, I think, and personally, and David, you can comment on this if you like, it is when you use procrastination to create artificial pressure, I think that's more crisis-driven. Like, it works. I'm saying it's not completely ineffective, but when you do things that way, you're always looking at putting out brush fires. You're always just going from one thing to another. You're not actually planning for the future. So, like, things that I like to do, and you know, as I texted these guys last night, apparently none of us sleep, just so you know, and this isn't Twilight.
3 hours.
We're not vampire. Yeah, right. I know. I texted what time? At like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, guys, what do you think about this for tomorrow's podcast? And Richie responds right away, which not probably healthy, but it's okay. I like to have plans beforehand of what I'm going to do. So the goal is to do things in steps. I think that, you know, they say that great things are accomplished by taking small, consistent steps. And what we do, actually, David wasn't here for this, but we had our weekly staff meeting, and we meet every Wednesday. I mean, it's religious. We meet every Wednesday. I think of the past 71 or 72 Wednesdays, we've met 71 of them, and there's a reason for that. I find no matter what, that if you keep up that consistency, then you can keep up progress. So the book written, I can't remember the author now, but anyway, It's called The One Thing, New York Times bestseller list. I hand out, and I think we've talked about this in other episodes, other podcasts, that I give each one of you a neon piece of paper with 3 things on it. And one thing can be personal, and the other 2 things have to be business related. What 3 things are going to get done between now and next week? Well, now that we've added DMG, we're going cray-cray. Like, we're just, we're throwing all kinds of ideas out there. And it's super exciting. Like, you guys, I'm excited about it. And if you're not, just lie to me. It's fine. Okay. But about all these things we're going to get done. But then Richie said to me after the meeting, and I love productive feedback. Richie was like, well, Coach, now that we're doing 3 things each, that's 12 things, and things are kind of getting biased on a couple different items. And I'm like, you know what? You're right, they are. So what we're now going to do, apply probably more of the principle of the book to create true pressure to make the diamonds, is each person at this table is going to be prioritized to one thing a week. One thing that's the most important thing that you need to get done between now and next week, that if you get it done, it'll move our cause forward. And that way, when we sit there, and if you only got one thing to do, right, we're sitting there talking to each other, if you can't get that one thing done, then we're going to take you out back and beat you up.
I like it.
Yeah, right. Because that's, if we're looking really to be great, and that's, again, I don't see the point in doing anything unless you want to be great. So we're going to do the one thing. I guess a Schwarzenegger quote, which I love, he said, "You cannot climb the ladder of success with your hands in your pockets." And I think that's where procrastination kind of comes into my mind. You're never really climbing if you're just putting out fires all the time. But anyway, with that said, I was actually reading part of Dr. Richard Cooper's book the other day, and it's an older book on performance psychology in golf, and the foreword was written by Payne Stewart. Now, I'll tell this story. So Richie's heard me tell this story a million times, and David probably 500,000. We teach group lessons. I've taught group lessons every spring and fall now for, 25 years. And it was probably 2 years ago now, but we have, about 28 to 8 to 12-year-olds, and I said Jack Nicklaus, and not one kid knew who Jack Nicklaus was. So then one kid raised his hand, right? He said, "Wasn't that the guy in The Shining?" Well, I don't know what's more alarming, that you got 20 kids who don't know who Jack Nicklaus is, or you got an 8-year-old who's seen The Shining. But be nice to that kid, I'm just saying. Okay. Anyway, I said Payne Stewart to my young colleagues here, and David did not know Payne Stewart, which pains me, because the guy won majors in the 90s. It ain't that old, right? Although I am getting older. But anyway, for those of you who don't know Payne Stewart used to wear knickers. And I always used to say, it's like, if you're going to wear knickers, you better be good. Because,
statement.
Yes, you're making a statement. Yeah. But he won a couple majors, and so I'm reading his foreword of the book, and it basically said that it was harder for him to learn the psychology and to apply it than had the physical gifts. He spent his entire life being told how gifted he was, and couldn't win as many tournaments as he wanted to. So what Dr. Coop did is he put a pre-shot routine into his toolbox. And basically what Stewart says in the preview is his pre-shot routine was the exact same on the first round Thursday morning as it was in the most pressure-packed situation on Sunday. And if you can keep that as your pre-shot routine, then you're able to keep yourself at a level. Getting yourself to be a consistent performer, you have to constantly put yourself in that position. And Richie, you and I have had that conversation. Like, Richie had to learn how to win. So, why don't you keep?
I never won a golf tournament until I actually came to Bob in college, and
so you owes me.
So.
Rich and famous.
10%.
I get 10% Richie Rich and famous, yes.
No, I never won a tournament until I came to you in college. And once I won the first tournament, that's when I started winning. That's when I won the 4 tournaments in a row. That's when I think I had 11 wins over there at Rutgers.
Yeah.
So,
very impressive.
you know, it took a while. It took, 20 years for me to win a tournament?
Man, you're getting old.
Well, okay, sorry. I started when I was 10, so 10 years. All right,
Do you
I'm not
think-
old.
Was it change in your swing or your mindset, right? Probably
Mindset. It was
Yeah,
it was
100.
just knowing I can win now. That's all it was.
That's
And
it.
we've talked about that, with me playing professional golf, is I have a feeling once I get one win, once I qualify into one event, they're just going to start tacking on.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's like adding on. Yes, getting better and better and better. Yeah, I agree. Thinking well. It's and again in the preview or the forward of that book, Payne Stewart said it's also fascinating when he plays in a lot of pro-ams, or did. He played in a lot of pro-ams, and he was amazed at people that had talent that couldn't score, or people that didn't have as much talent that could. If you don't have that much talent, but you can think in a winning, productive mentality, you can still score. I mean, not everybody has the ability to have a tour swing. Not everybody's as flexible as these two here. I mean, if you can think well. Actually, we had two. The Magic Wands we had, and then I had Chris Torgerson, I believe his name was. His swing was a little bit quirky, but he just believed that he was that good, and it translated to he was our best player of that year because he had that inner confidence about being able to play the sport, which is huge. So, with that said, I know I kind of stole David's thunder a little bit with the procrastination thing, but it's weird, right? Because I thought of you and I didn't even know it was you when I was telling that story. So, all right, tell me again your theory on pressure, or what pressure means to you.
Yeah, and when you were talking about this, it made me think about procrastination and how I'll kind of use it to my advantage, right? And, it's good and bad, but personally, I'm ADD, I'm jumping around, my mind's going everywhere. So if I know this paper's due at 11:59 p.m., if it's 2-3 weeks before, there's no real pressure, there's no real stress, and I don't feel that that need to get it done. And I might start it and kind of half butt it and not really put my full effort into it. But if I wait till I got 2 days left or a day, man, I'm looking at that computer and there's nothing that could distract me. But I like what you said because it made me think about it differently. I don't think it's as much pressure as stress. I think it's probably more stress and that stress is what's kind of focusing me.
Yeah.
And then it also leads to if I don't have enough time or it's not going well, now I'm overwhelmed. Now it's not. Now that stress or that pressure's hurting me.
And I operated, nobody's perfect. I operated a lot like that in my first couple years of college. And what I found with operating under the procrastination method is, like for example, you're waiting to the night before to get something done, and then you're typing. And back then wasn't really computers. It was kind of a computer. It was a word processor. It had the little screen and whatnot. And all it would take is at midnight when you're typing something out for your ink cartridge to be done, and then holy shnikes, now it's due at 8 a.m. and like now you're you got to quickly borrow your buddies or go to somebody else's house. Like the product probably has greater potential to not be as good, even though you focus well under pressure. At that point, like you didn't leave yourself enough of a buffer to do what you want to do. So I learned and what I do, and Richie and I had this conversation about reading. I read a lot more now than I ever read when I was younger. Warren Buffett talks about reading 74 hours a day or something like that. I don't have that kind of time, but I guess I should because that guy's ridiculously successful. I block out some time every day to read, and I also every night, not every night, 6 out of 7 nights, I start my list of things to do for the next day, the day before, rather than getting up in the morning and trying to do it, because that's there's things that'll pop in your head throughout, and we do that. Richie, actually, today's topic, if something pops in your head, write it down, right, and then that way you can circle back to it later. But yeah, so okay, I'd like your honesty in that.
Yeah,
So-
but so in high school I could kind of get away with it.
Yeah.
College I had to adjust it,
Mhm.
and I would start I'd lie to myself pretty much. I'd put it in my notes or my phone like a week before, or at least a few days before. I'd write that it's due, and that night I'd sit down, I'd stress about it, I'd go online to turn it in, and I'd be like, oh, it's not due for another week. So that's how I learned to kind of manage that and put it to good positive use.
Yeah. Love it.
Because then, if I'm halfway done, I'm not
Right, lie to
stressing.
yourself. Yeah, man, get things done. Yeah, I like it. I like it. All right, the dashing Richie Stoltz. So I know you have a pressure story somewhere in there. So let's hear it.
So,
my friend.
I'm gonna start with a quote.
Mhm.
I always feel pressure. If you don't feel nervous, that means you don't care about how you play. I care about how I perform. I've always said the day I'm not nervous playing is the day I quit. Who said that? Do you know?
No, I don't. Richie, well, the dashing Richie Stoltz just said it.
That's true.
But, yeah.
Tiger.
That was
Tiger's quote.
Tiger, El Tigre.
That was Tiger's quote.
Okay.
So pressure to me isn't procrastination, because if I walk into a tournament and I haven't
Yeah.
played in
True.
6 months, and then I'm gonna feel pressure.
It's going to be
But-
all bad
I
pressure.
mean, yeah, it's not gonna be good pressure at
That's
all.
the Chuck Noll unprepared pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pressure to me is stepping up there and knowing that you have something to achieve that you would like to achieve.
Mhm.
So me, when I play in tournaments, and most people have this feeling too,
Yeah, jitters.
there's
Yeah,
little
that's-
handshakes on the
um,
first tee jitters.
That's people's most common fear or biggest fear is public speaking.
Yeah.
Which I'm a nut job. I like it, but if anybody tells you, were you at the I can't remember, whatever national championship we were at back in the day.
I was not there. You
Yeah.
you told the story.
Yeah,
though.
they
think so.
came up to our table, with me sitting there with assistant and the players, and they're all like, the guy who was supposed to give the keynote speech on the Mid-Atlantic Awards, it became ill. Do you know of anybody that will get up there and speak? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And like everybody's staring at me like, wait, you're going to get up in front of several hundred people and speak on less than 10 minutes notice? I'm like, yeah. I started writing notes down on a napkin, and I got up there. And I did it, and from that, circumstances, favor people that are prepared for that kind of stuff. Was I nervous? Yeah, the first 30 seconds I get up in front of anybody, I'm nervous. The first tee, you're nervous. The key is to put yourself in that position so you can learn from it. I take that Mary Chapin Carpenter song. You got it. If you haven't heard it, you got to listen to it. I take my chances. I love that song because you know what? There's a lyric in there that says, some people say that you shouldn't tempt fate, and for those I don't disagree, but I've never learned anything by playing it safe. I say fate should not tempt me. I love that lyric. That's I try to live that way. So yeah. I guess to your point is you're going to feel nervous, right?
Yeah.
But and to your point, procrastination does put you under pressure. But I think what we're talking about in terms of peak performance is there's a difference between stress and pressure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's a difference. And what you want to do is put yourself in a positive pressure position.
Yes.
Something that, let's just say that we sat down and made goals and plans for, and we take incremental steps to get there. We have a plan to get there, but we have the one thing each week that we do that puts the pressure. In this case, peer pressure. They sit there at our table at our staff meeting and say, well, DMG, what did you get done? Well, nothing this week. Like, then you're the idiot at the table, right?
It doesn't feel good when you do that.
I know, right? I know, because
You get
they
roasted.
beat up on me this week because my paperwork, I was making up fictitious names. But I beat up on Richie because it is. If you put something on the page, get it done, right? That's, if you want to be great, get stuff done. Yeah. So, I guess the moral of the story is, pressure, pressure is good. Pressure is a privilege. But make sure it's the right kind of pressure. It's not procrastinating pressure. It's not last second pressure. It's not stress pressure. It's pressure towards a goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, and then we can get into goal setting at some other point. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, did I miss anything, guys? I'm just trying to think.
What kind of pressure did you feel shooting your 61 round? Like towards towards the end, you gotta be feeling it.
So
There's a funny story on that. Yeah, go ahead.
So, well, first tee jitters turned into 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th jitters.
Oh my gosh.
That was nerve-wracking
Yeah.
because that was just constant, especially on the greens, constant shaking because I was just like, I'm 10 under. I don't know what the course record is. You know, I didn't know what
You
the
know
course
you're good.
record was going into the 18th hole. I just knew that I was either close to it or I already beat it. That's all I knew. So, you know, that was just, for me, when I deal with pressure, it's just breathing. I think
Yeah.
it was Justin Rose who said when he would walk down the fairway, he would stick his chest out, put his chin up,
Yeah.
and that would give him some more confidence to kind of
Yeah.
help him through those pressure situations. I do a lot of breathing stuff, so I'll breathe in, you know, take the deep breaths in, deep breaths out, just to kind of calm yourself down because, again,
Yeah.
you get the shaking, but the pressure's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, again, that was probably one of my biggest achievements, if not the biggest in golf, just being able to break a course record because
yeah.
anyone who knows me play golf, I'm like steady Eddie. I feel like I don't really go low. So that was like the first time I went low on a round of golf.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should.
So, I know. What'd you say?
Maybe you should go low.
Well, I'm
What
trying.
is
I'm trying.
Race
But to just piggyback on that, Nicholson, who won that PGA Championship, I'm pretty sure he's the oldest guy to win a major. They asked him afterward. They said, "Hey, you know what did you work on, you know, this week to shoot the numbers you shot?" And it wasn't a golf swing related thing. It was breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting more oxygen in the lungs. You know, trying to stay calm. Yeah. So there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to performance psychology. But you know what I also realized this week, guys, is I got to be the hat club because like these guys wear hats every week.
This is my first time.
Well, it's your well,
50-50 now.
Wearing hats, right? Right. Yeah. Maybe I should wear a hat. I don't know. And we got our South Jersey Golf School winter training T-shirts, which I'm wearing today, folks. So we have winter training coming up.
Looking sharp.
Yeah, we're trying to look sharp. Yeah. Anyway, enough gratuitous promotion. If you like what we're doing, guys, please hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate you doing that. Again, did I leave anything out?
I'm just gonna say appreciate the pressure.
Yes.
Appreciate the pressure.
It is a privilege, right?
Yes.
That's exactly right. And again, if you ever want to do something in life, I don't see the purpose in doing it unless you want to be great. So I'm Bob Cardia.
The dashing Richie Stoltz.
DMG, David.
Let's go. All right. Have a great week, folks. See you next week.
Glass of bourbon, ha ha. My bourbon, ha ha.